Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Yes, today I have 20 of my favorite fragrances from my entire collection. And I also think these are the best from my entire collection. So if you want to find out what these 20 fragrances are, please don't go anywhere. Yes, for this list, I've gone with 20 of my favorite, and that's based on my preference and my taste. So don't be offended if you don't see some of your favorite fragrances on my list. And for this list, guys, I've decided to go one fragrance per fragrance house because I can't possibly cover everything from a house because then it'll be more than 20. And some of these fragrances were sent to me while some of them I purchased myself with my own money. And some of the fragrances I'm going to be talking about today are slightly older fragrances. Some of them are slightly newer ones. Some of them are popular ones. You might be finding out or discovering new fragrances today in this video that you probably don't know of or you haven't heard about. These selections are not ranked. These are just 20 of the best, I think, the best fragrances in my collection. But before we jump right into the video, guys, if this is your first time landing on my channel, you like fragrances, you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel and also feel free to like and share my videos. Guys, don't forget to click the bell icon so you can get notified whenever I drop a new video. That way you're not missing out on any videos. Let's go. So the first fragrance we're going to be talking about today is probably the only designer fragrance on my list. I'm not too sure, but yes, it's a popular fragrance and I'm sure some of you know which fragrance or what fragrance I'm talking about. It's none other than Dior Homme Parfum, guys. I'm sure a lot of people know this one. It's very popular and popular for the right reasons. A lot of people like it. I do personally like this one. It's a combination of iris, leather. There's even some oud in here. Just great fragrance. I also own the Dior Cucu Intense. That should tell you how much I like these DNA. It's a great fragrance. There were rumors one time that it was discontinued, but it's not discontinued. This is an older bottle. I've had this one since 2019 and I'm sure you're asking me how this one performs. It performs well. I have no problems at all. Yes, I love the leather here. I love the iris here. I love the added oud in here too. Yeah, it's just great to wear, especially in the cooler weather. I think it's one of the best from the many fragrances I own, and that's why it's on my list. And that's Dior Homme Parfum. So the next fragrance I'm going to be talking about is quite popular, guys. And this one is from the house of Xerjoff Parfums. And that's Bois Imperial. So this fragrance is quite interesting to me, because it reminds me so much of Ganymede, and I'm sure a lot of people know that fragrance. Yes, so when I tried that fragrance, I didn't like it. I just felt it was too much. So I heard a lot of good things about this one and how, you know, the comparison with Ganymede, and I wanted to try it. So I reached out to the brand and they sent me this bottle. And from the first day I smelled this one, I liked it, because I think it's not as intense as Ganymede, in my opinion. I don't think it's as intense, still maintaining the same DNA. And both fragrances share the same perfumer. But yes, this one is woody, it's earthy, it's got vetiver in here, there's basil, there's akigali wood. I enjoy this one so much. I know I have a lot of fragrances, but you might not really see how much of a dent I've put on this one. Yes, so it's just so good. I like to wear this one, especially in the springtime and sometimes in the summertime. It's a great compliment getter. To me, this one leans more masculine, but it's so great, guys. And this one is not expensive. It won't break the bank. Like I said, great woody fragrance. There's vetiver in here, so hence that earthiness. And there's some spices in here. I think this is one of the best fragrances I own in my collection, and that's why it's on my list. And guys, that's Bois Imperial by Xerjoff Parfums. We move on to the next one. The next fragrance I'm going to be talking about is one I really love. This is a fragrance that if you've been following my channel, you would know how much I feel about this one. And it's none other than Bois Mysterieux by Guerlain. Yes, guys, Bois Mysterieux was a blind buy. This one came highly recommended by a friend. And boy, I wasn't disappointed at all. I fell in love with this fragrance at first sniff. Yes, this one is not for everybody. A lot of people might not like this kind of scent, but for me, it was a hit right off the bat. So yes, this one has leather. It's more on the resinous side. It has myrrh listed, and I believe there's some spiciness I get here that's not listed on the notes. If you would ask me, it comes off as something like, it smells something like cumin to me, but it's not listed on the notes, but I do pick it up here, and I just love this one. This one is not a safe blind buy. Not everybody would like this one, but people like it on me. I think it's sexy in the air, especially in the air when you walk past people. I like the way this one smells on my skin. It's just one of the best, I think, in my collection. There's a little bit of funk with this one, so if you don't like fragrances that have that a little bit of animalic vibe, you might not like this one, but it's one I rate highly, and that's why it's on my list, guys. That's Bois Mysterieux by Guerlain. So guys, the next fragrance we're going to be talking about is another favorite of mine, and probably one of the best amber fragrances I've ever put my nose on. One I rate really highly. If you follow my channel, you know how much I love this fragrance. I talk about it a lot, and it's just one of the best in my opinion, and that's why it's on my list, guys. Yes, that's Tango by Masque Milano. Yes, this one I'm a huge fan of. I've loved this fragrance ever since I've gotten this one, and actually this is my second bottle, and this is a 30 ml bottle, so yeah, this is my second bottle. So Tango is my favorite amber fragrance. I enjoy this style of amber fragrances because it's more on the resinous, spicy side, like cumin, like cinnamon. There's tonka in here, there's cedar listed here, and there's rose listed here as well. The perfumer behind this one is Cecile Zerokian, and she does great fragrances. Yes, Tango is just one of the best, and that's why it's on my list. It's my favorite amber for a reason. This one, again, not a safe blind buy. A lot of people might not like this fragrance. Some people don't like it on me. They probably don't like or don't enjoy, you know, fragrances in this style. But for me, Tango is a masterpiece and one of the best from my personal collection. Yes, guys. So that's Tango by Masque Milano. We move on to the next one. So this one was love at first sniff for me. I fell in love with this fragrance right away. I don't hear people talking about this fragrance too much, or even this brand too much. I'm not sure why, but it's none other than Sir Dancer by HFC. Yeah, Sir Dancer was a love at first sniff for me. I discovered this fragrance about 2 years ago, and I bought it right away. Yes, this one, again, is not a safe blind buy. A lot of people might not like this one. It's woody, it's spicy. There's also some boozy aspects to this one. But yeah, oh, God, one of the best, guys. One of the best out of all my fragrances that I personally own. And the perfumer behind this one is Benoit Barja. Yeah, Sir Dancer is just amazing to me. The spicy notes, there's woody notes, it's amber, it has a little bit of green side to it, and it's also quite resinous. It has that balsamic resinous vibe. So if you don't enjoy fragrances like that, you might not enjoy this one. But yeah, it's one I think is one of the best in terms of quality, in terms of just the composition, guys. This is not a fragrance you would smell on a lot of people, and people that enjoy fragrances like this would like this one. So that's Sir Dancer by HFC Paris, and we move on to the next one. So this one is Cucu Intense by Parfums de Nicolai. Even just going like this, boy, so lovely, guys. Amazing stuff here. This one is sweet. It has a spicy side to it. It does have a smoky, kind of fruity, smoky vibe to it as well. So when I spray this fragrance, what I pick up is like what you pick up when you go into like a shisha bar. That fruity, smoky vibe is what I pick up. So things get a little bit floral, you know, woody, and then there's the tobacco that comes out, you know, in this fragrance. So this fragrance here blew me away. I really enjoy how this one smells on me. I really like this fragrance. This is not a safe blind buy, guys. So fragrances from this house aren't exactly safe blind buys. You need to try them out before you buy. This one is one of the best from my collection, and that's why it's on my list, guys. So that's Cucu Intense by Parfums de Nicolai. We move on to the next one. So the next fragrance I'm going to be sharing is quite popular, from a popular fragrance house, and that's Carlisle by Parfums de Malle. So this one is, you know how I feel about this one, just one of the best. For me, the best from the house. Out of all I've tried from the house, this one is the best. And I own 2 bottles of this one. And that's because I'm a huge fan of Carlisle. I love this fragrance from the first time I bought it, and then I've just been hooked ever since. I've also been addicted to this one from day one. It's like my go-to winter scent. When I want compliments, when I also want a strong performer, that's when I always pull for Carlisle. Some of the notes featured here are nutmeg, there's rose listed here, there's tonka beans, there's saffron, there's green apples listed here as part of the notes, and this one lasts a really long time on me. Projection is amazing, sillage is amazing, and the scent itself for me is just one of the best I personally have smelled ever. Okay, and the scent for me is personally one of the best, and that's why it's on my list as one of my best 20 fragrances in my collection. So guys, that's Carlisle by Parfums de Malle. We move on to the next one. So the next fragrance I'm going to be sharing is one that was sent to me by the brand after I discovered this fragrance on YouTube, actually. Yes, so I ran into a review of this fragrance on YouTube and I watched the review and my interest was piqued at that moment. So I reached out to the brand and they were nice enough to send me a bottle. So this bottle is actually quite unique. I personally like the styling of the bottle, or maybe the presentation of the bottle. It's something quite unique, and as well as the scent. So it's none other than Akkad from the house of Luben. Yes, this is Lubin Akkad. But enough of the presentation, guys. This is an amber fragrance. An amber with lots of resins. So if you don't like resinous fragrances, if you don't like resinous amber fragrances, you might not like this one. But for me, it's probably my third favorite amber fragrance. And as you know, my favorite amber fragrance is Tango, for sure. And Akkad here is my third favorite amber fragrance. I do have a second favorite one, but it's not on my list here, guys. Yes, this one is one of the best from my collection. So some of the notes with this one, there's labdanum, there's incense, there's resins like styrax. Elemi resin is also present here. Like I said, it's loaded with lots of resins. This one is a rich amber. I'm sure some of you who might have experienced this fragrance or are familiar with this one would know what I'm talking about. One of my favorite from the house. I do have a few other ones from the house, and I do have multiple samples from the house, but this one is my favorite from the house so far, and one of my favorite fragrances from my entire collection. So guys, that's Akkad by Luben. Great looking bottle. We move on to the next one. So the next fragrance I'm going to be telling you about is from the house of Bois 1920, and this one is Sacro e Profano. Yes, so I'm not sure if some of you know this fragrance or even this fragrance house. I don't think I've talked about this fragrance house here on my YouTube channel. So this fragrance reminds me of a few other fragrances that I personally own, and some of them I don't own. So if you like something like Ombre Nomade by Louis Vuitton, if you like something like Fugazi Good, you would like this one. Definitely has that DNA of the rose, the oud, the saffron. You know, that rose oud combo with a leathery kind of vibe. Yes, that's what you get with this one. Even though with this one I get something like a sweet vibe here, something almost chocolatey here. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, it's the same vibe as the Ombre Nomades and the fragrances like that. If you like those kind of fragrances, you would like this one. The leather here is quite on the animalic side for sure. Yeah, but the rose mellows everything out. There's some mandarin orange listed here too, so it has that freshness at the top as well. And the perfumer for this one is Chris Morris. I think this fragrance is one of the best in my collection. I like how it smells on my skin. I like how the oud shines on my skin as well. If you like something like Ombre Nomade, if you like something like Fugazi Good, this one is definitely one to check out. Sacro e Profano by Bois 1920. We move on to the next one. The next fragrance I'm going to be sharing is going to be our fragrance number 10. And this one is from the house of Ex Nihilo, and it's Oud Vendôme. This is another favorite of mine from my collection. So my first encounter with this one was when I went to Saks Fifth Avenue. I got a fragrance and then I was given a sample of this fragrance. And then you know how when you go fragrance shopping, you never really focus on the samples that you're sent. You're probably still getting into the fragrance, the actual fragrances or fragrance that you bought. And then about maybe 3, 4, 5 months down the line, I was doing a little bit of housekeeping. And then I found this sample where I put it, and then I just kind of tested it out. And I wore it for the first time. I was like, okay. So I went out the one time and I got compliments wearing the fragrance from the sample, and that was when I decided to get a full bottle of the fragrance. So this one, of course, from the name Oud Vendôme, has oud, it has saffron, ginger, I believe there's some woody notes here. It does have a smoky side, and there's galbanum listed as one of the notes here as well. But this one, it's interestingly wasn't this color when I bought it. I think over time it changed, I don't know, but it wasn't this color when I bought it. Yeah, but this fragrance for me is unisex, great compliment getter. It's an oud fragrance, but not too heavy on the oud. It's this, the oud is definitely there, but there's more going on. The star of the show for me here is the saffron, the cedar, and the oud. There's a little bit of smoky vibe with this one, but yeah, it's just a great oud fragrance. One of my favorite oud fragrances. One of the best fragrances I own in my personal collection, and that's why it's on my list. It's great for the fall and great for the winter time. And so it's a great compliment getter for me. And that's Oud Vendôme by Ex Nihilo. Check it out, guys. Great stuff. This is one of the best tobacco fragrances I personally have encountered, and it's fairly new, maybe a couple years old now. I'm sure you already know the fragrance I'm talking about, and it's from the house of Amaj, and that's Amaj Royale Tobacco. Yes, guys, Amaj Royale Tobacco. Great fragrance here. Woo. So this one, when I got this fragrance, it was a blind buy, and I did fall for the hype. Yes, it was a blind buy, and for some reason I had a different scent in mind based off the reviews and then the videos I'd seen at the time. I was expecting something different compared to what this one actually smells like. Royale Tobacco is all about incense to me. It's all about the smoky vibe. It's all about the spices. There's tobacco in here for sure. If you like smoky fragrances, if you like tobacco fragrances, you should definitely check out this one. The perfumer for this one is Cecile Zerokian. The composition here is amazing. I haven't smelled anything like this prior to smelling this one. I mean, you definitely pick up that Amaj DNA. If you smell some of their fragrances, you know what I'm talking about. That DNA, that Amaj incense type of DNA is definitely here. This one is smoky, it's woody, there's vanilla here, and it's not really sweet, which is what I was expecting. I was expecting a sweet tobacco. I was expecting this one to be sweet, or like, you know how the tobacco can be on the sweet side, but no, this one is not on the sweet side. This is a smoky tobacco with lots of depth, and it's something I would wear only in the cold weather. I would not wear this kind of fragrance in the heat. I would never wear this one in the summertime. It just shines better in the cooler weather, and that's when I would be wearing Amaj Royale Tobacco. Absolutely one of the best from my collection. One of the best compositions I have personally encountered from the brand, and quite an interesting take on a tobacco fragrance. Of course, you know Cecile Zerokian and how she makes her fragrances. Yes, guys, that's Amaj Royale Tobacco. One of the best fragrances I personally own in my collection. We move on to the next one. So the next fragrance we're going to be sharing today is from the house of Jovoy, and it's none other than Psychedelic. Yes, Psychedelic by Jovoy. One of my favorite from the house of Jovoy. So this one is a patchouli fragrance. One of the best patchouli fragrances I have personally encountered. I don't have a lot of patchouli fragrances, but this one is one of the best, or one of the best from the field that I do own and enjoy. Interestingly, this fragrance I didn't like at first. So I've had a sample of this one for a long time, many years ago, many years back, and I didn't like the sample, the fragrance. Especially also, I was just getting used to the note of patchouli. I was just getting familiar with the note, and you know how patchouli can be tricky. Patchouli can go in an earthy direction. It can go into a kind of gourmandy direction. And in this case, this one has that gourmandy, thick, kind of chocolatey, almost like cakey vibe. Yeah. And I didn't like it at first, like I said. And, you know, after a while, I bought the full bottle of Psychedelic. Yes, I personally like to wear this one in the cold. This one is unisex. I like to wear this one especially in the fall. It just has that earthy vibe, mixed with that sweetness. There's a little bit of sweetness here. You know, this is what a patchouli fragrance basically would smell like. You know, it's just patchouli to me, and it has that elegant vibe to it. Even though this one, I think, has a little bit of added ambery quality. I can almost pick up that ambery quality here. And there's, of course, labdanum as part of the notes listed here. There's some citruses, and, you know, there's other things. I believe there's patchouli, of course, listed as one of the notes as well. It's unisex. This one lasts a long time on me. I like to wear this one, especially when just rainy days, when it's raining. That's when I would typically pull for this one. Great fragrance in my opinion, one of my favorites from the house of Jovoy, and that's Psychedelic by Jovoy, and that's why it's on my list, because it's one of my favorite and one of the best perfumes I personally own in my collection. We move on to the next one. So the next fragrance we're going to be talking about is another one that I didn't like at first. I didn't like this fragrance at first, and you know, it took me a long time to eventually see the light with this one, thanks to my friend, who a trusted brother who's a fragrance lover like me, and someone I respect so much in the game, in the hobby. You know, he's put me onto a lot of good fragrances. I respect his taste. I respect his nose, because, like I said, he's one of those people who sometimes I would ask questions, you know, perfume-related questions, and I know I would get a reliable answer. Yeah, he's that one guy who put me on to this fragrance. This fragrance is from the house of Electus, and it's Octavian. Yes, Octavian by Electus. So like I said, my first encounter with this one was a sample that was sent to me when I got my first bottle from the brand, and that one is Oster. I got the sample of this one along with that fragrance when I got it at the time, with plenty samples, about 22 of them from the brand. And this one I didn't like at all. I thought this one smelled really bad, like really bad, when I first smelled the fragrance. And then this brother of mine, or this friend of mine, bought this fragrance, and he had it, and he had really good things to say about this one. And I was like, maybe I misjudged the fragrance, and then I tried to revisit the fragrance, and guess what? We have a full bottle, and it's one of my favorite fragrances, one of the best fragrances I personally own. And some of you who know this fragrance would know what this one kind of smells like. Yes, it's in the same ballpark, or it will remind you of Portrait of a Lady by Frederic Malle. They do have similarities, and a lot of people compared both of them, even though I think this one has a little bit of an edge for me personally over Portrait of a Lady. Yes, with this one there's a little bit of funk, there's a little bit of extra woody vibe I pick up here. It goes into that direction of almost like a dark woody vibe that you pick up here that's not in Portrait of a Lady. The notes for this one are pink pepper, there's saffron in here, there's oud in here, there's rose, of course, and there's olibanum listed as well. This one has a little bit of sweetness too, but it's not the same as Portrait of a Lady. I do own both fragrances, and this one for me takes the lead over Portrait of a Lady. I also enjoy this fragrance in the cold weather. I find this one to last a really long time. It's a great looking bottle, and of course, if you're familiar with Electus bottles, you see it's a heavy bottle. And the perfumer behind this one is Christian Provenzano. I like his work. I enjoy most of the fragrances that he creates, and I like his style. When you encounter this fragrance, you can see, or you would notice, that signature Christian Provenzano footprint here in Octavian. One of the best from my collection, and that's why it's on my list of my favorite 20. Yes, that's Octavian by Electus. We move on to the next one. So guys, there's a link in the description where you can shop your designer fragrances, your niche fragrances, your indie fragrances here in Canada and in the US for the best prices. So our next fragrance is from the same perfumer as the previous one, Christian Provenzano, and it's none other than Neymar. Yes, this fragrance has the same perfumer as Octavian here, Christian Provenzano, and this one for me was an instant love. when I first sampled this fragrance or when I first tried this one. I fell in love right away. It's earthy, there's rose in here, it's floral, it's earthy, and there's patchouli in here. There's lots of notes going on in here. But this one is absolutely one of the best fragrances from my collection. One of the best fragrances I own in my collection. Great presentation here, guys. Beautiful bottle and great scent. This is one of those fragrances that just sticks to you. Anywhere you go, it'll go with you. And this one performs really, really well. It lasts a really long time on me. The sillage is amazing. You have a big cloud when you wear this one. People love this one. Ladies love this one. Great fragrance. Amazing stuff. That's why it's on my list as one of the best from my collection. Guys, that's Neymar by Bois de Victorious. We move on to the next one. So the next fragrance I'm going to be sharing is quite new to my collection, but then it's one I rate really highly, and that's why it's on my list. And it's from the house of Emirates Pride Perfumes, and that's Amber Bel Oud. Yes, this one is a unique type of amber. It's an amber with heavy dose of incense and oud. I mean, from the first spray, you're welcomed with that oud, that dense, dark oud. Yes, just 3 notes listed for this one. There's amber, there's incense, and there's oud. The oud I like very much in here. It's a funky kind of oud. This one, I wouldn't advise you to blind buy this one. Please sample before you go ahead to buy. But then it's a great fragrance in my opinion. It's not as sweet as, you know, it's not a sweet amber. It's more on the smoky, woody kind of amber. My favorite part of this fragrance is the opening, because as the fragrance dries down, all you can pick up is mostly the incense and a little bit of sweetness. So yeah, it's incense is definitely the star of the game here, and that oud in the opening. It doesn't change very much. It's not a fragrance that transforms so much. What you get from the beginning pretty much is how the fragrance stays all through. The only difference is the oud gets mellow after a few minutes, and then you get most of the incense and then a little bit of ambery sweetness here. Yeah, great fragrance to be worn in the cold. I personally look forward to the cooler weather like the fall, the winter time, to really enjoy this one. So this one is unisex, so it can be worn by a lady, it can be worn by a guy. One of the best from my entire collection. One of the best from the house that I've tried so far, and that's Amber Bel Oud from the house of Emirates Pride Perfumes. We move on to the next one. I recently did a review of this one on my channel. You can go check it out. It's from the house of Christian Provenzano, and it's Masimo. Yeah, Masimo from the house of Christian Provenzano. Yeah, this is a 10 over 10 amber fragrance. It's spicy. There's some earthy sides to it. There's a little bit of sweet side as well. Just amazing stuff. There's leather also listed here. Yeah, like I said, guys, I have a full review of this one on my channel. You can check it out. Great stuff. One of the best fragrances I've encountered this year. And this one was sent to me by the brand for review. Great fragrance in my opinion. I personally can't wait for the fall and for the winter time to wear this one, because I think that's when this one would shine. And describing this one doesn't do it justice. I hope, guys, you're able to put your nose on this one and see how good this one is. That's Masimo by Christian Provenzano. One of the best fragrances in my collection. That's why it's on my list. And then we move on to the next one. If you've followed me for a long time, you know how I feel about this fragrance. It's from the house of Nishane, and it's Nefs. Yes, this one I've put a lot of people onto. This one is one of the best from the house personally. I've tried a lot of fragrances from the house Nishane, and I still think this is the best from the house. Great fragrance. Lots of things going on in here. There's an ambery side to it. There's rose listed. There's oud in here. It's sweet. It's got honey. It's got fruity aspects from the fig. There's saffron in here. There's a boozy aspect to it. There's also leather listed. Lots of notes going on in here, guys. The oud here is beautiful. This one lasts a long time. It's great for the cold weather. It's unisex at the same time. And every time I've worn this fragrance, I get a lot of compliments. And I've put a lot of people onto this fragrance and they all enjoy it. One of the things I enjoy about this one is the boozy side of it. I also love the woody aspect of it. It has that woody side, it has that boozy side, it has a sweet side, it has a fruity side, an ambery side. It's just a mix of everything. This fragrance to me is a 10 out of 10. One of the best in my collection, and that's why it's on my list of the best 20. That's Nishane Nefs. We move on to the next one. The next fragrance I'm going to be sharing is one that's not new. I've talked about this fragrance a lot. I would never make a list like this without including this fragrance. And I'm sure some of you already know what fragrance I'm going to be sharing next. It's none other than Promise. Yes, Promise by Frederic Malle. You know this is one of my favorite. You know this is an amazing fragrance. I don't need to say too much about this one. This one needs no introduction. And this one has rose, there's apple listed, there's cypriol listed here. It's got patchouli. It has a woody side. It has an earthy side. It's just amazing, guys. Frederic Malle Promise is one of the best fragrances I personally own in my collection. And that's why it's on my list. It's unisex. It's great for the cooler weather. It's one I would always have in my collection no matter what. And the performance on this one is amazing. It lasts a long time, projects really well. Sillage is huge. This one will get you noticed. This one will get you compliments. So guys, that's Frederic Malle's Promise. So the next fragrance I'm going to be sharing is from the house of Xerjoff. Yes, and this one is a patchouli fragrance. And this is my second patchouli fragrance on this list, and it's none other than Xerjoff Richwood. Yes, this one is one of my favorite, one of the best in my collection. And some of you who are familiar with this fragrance would know why. I think this is one of the best from the brand. It's a different take on patchouli. This one is patchouli and rose, and it also has like a vintage kind of classic vibe to it, to my nose here. There's a little bit of a old-fashioned vibe with this one, and that's what I enjoy about this one. This is not like psychedelic where the patchouli goes into more of a sweet, gourmandy kind of direction. This one has more of a classic vibe to it, and that's why I enjoy this one. This one has a fresh opening, and that's what makes this one bright. So notes like grapefruit, like tangerine, like bergamot also make this patchouli here on the bright side, where it's more of a fresh take on patchouli compared to the other one that's more of an earthy, gourmandy kind of patchouli. So Richwood here is one of my favorites from the brand. It's one of the best fragrances in my collection, hence why it's on my list. It's unisex. It's one I like to wear in the cold, but sometimes I can wear this one maybe in the summertime, but just with less number of sprays. But yeah, it's a great fragrance, one many people might not enjoy. I believe there's also maybe some soapy quality here as well. I'm not sure, maybe from the rose. Something here is a little soapy, on the soapy side as well. But yeah, Richwood by Xerjoff is one of the best in my collection. And we move on to the next one, guys. So the last but not the least fragrance I'm going to be sharing today from the house of Royale Parfums. And for this one, it's Parfums de la Nuit number 3. Yeah, Parfums de la Nuit number 3. This fragrance, guys, is a masterpiece. One of the best fragrances I personally have encountered. One of the best from the brand, from all the ones I own, and also all the ones I have tried from the house Royale Parfums. This fragrance is amazing, guys. It's the perfect blend of spices, an ambery side, a woody aspect. It has leather listed as one of the notes, and it just goes in different direction, guys. Lots of notes listed with this one, but some of the notes are leather, there's amber, there's bergamot, there's incense. Lots of notes going on in here. This fragrance to me is perfection. One of the best fragrances that I own, and one of the best from my collection, and that's why it's on my list. I wore this fragrance recently to a party, and the older guys that I sat together with kind of enjoyed this one on me. A lot of them asked me what I was wearing, and some of them I had to write it down for them. I'm sure they're gonna check it out, or maybe even buy this fragrance. It's that good, guys. Yes, that's Roja Parfums de la Nuit number 3. Guys, that's my best 20 fragrances from my personal collection. Let me know what you think about my list. Let me know what you think about these fragrances that I mentioned. And don't forget, guys, for this video, I picked 1 fragrance per fragrance house. And guys, it's extremely difficult to pick out 20. Like I said in the beginning of this video, it's hard to pick out 20 fragrances from hundreds. We're at the end of this video, and I'm already thinking here, I should have put this one on the list. I should have taken this one out. Maybe I like this one. Maybe I like the other one better. But for this video, those were my best 20. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for sticking around till the end of this video. Please, if you're new, consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click that bell icon so you get notified when I drop a new video. I'm gonna keep it moving, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.